The Dark Wolf Emperor has two actions. The first one is economic, directly forcing all local guilds to pay a large amount of protection fees, on the grounds that Shadow will cover the Harara ruins in the future. And if an epic or legendary boss appears, Shadow can be invited to deal with it. The Dark Wolf Emperor did not discuss this with Qinfeng. Anyway, he just found a random reason to collect protection fees from those local guilds, if a boss really appears. He believes that Shadow should also be willing to come and help get rid of it. After all, boss's life, killing boss will increase if more fees are needed. He can also ask those guilds. The second one is targeted killing, especially for the guild members of the other two giants. After being forced to be sent to these two ancient forests to work, the Dark Wolf Emperor will create opportunities for them to be left alone, and then kill them. After killing, let the magic gold wolf under his command devour all the tradable life of their corpses. This is the most important reason why the Dark Wolf Emperor can become one of the three giants in the Harari ruins. The magic gold wolf he summoned can devour all the tradable lifespans of the player's corpse. In the Harari ruins, most players basically have no non-tradable lifespans, so even if the Dark Wolf Emperor kills someone in the game, he can easily kill him completely. This is why the local black-skinned players are afraid of him. After the player members of the two giants were killed, the reason given by the Dark Wolf Emperor was that the players who were killed were not doing their job well, were lazy and chatted, and wasted the time of the Shadow. So they deserved to be killed. Let the two local guild giants all dare to be angry but not speak. Under these two measures, the Dark Wolf Emperor easily gained more than 100,000 years of life, and completely killed many core combat forces of the two local giant guilds. And for all this, Qinfeng is currently unaware. But he is not in a hurry. After the three ancient forests are burned and the legendary giant vine monsters are dealt with, Qinfeng will go back to the deal with the Dark Wolf Emperor. At that time, everything this man has done will be judged. Of course, if this man has no major problems, Qinfeng will send him back and let him become his spokesperson in the Harari ruins, so that he can usually plunder more life. However, if this guy touches on any principled issue, then he can only say goodbye to him. The reason why Qinfeng didn't take action when he first saw him is because he still has to let this man burn the ancient forest for him. Make the best use of things. That's the reason. If you want to deal with it, you have to wait until you have used up the person before dealing with it. In this situation, Qinfeng leisurely spawned monsters at the 30, 35, and 35, 40 leveling points around the Harari ruins. After more than 4 days, the three ancient forests were finally burned almost completely. Qinfeng finally gathered enough experience points to evolve the Deathwing Angel bloodline. Qinfeng opened the attribute panel and gave the evolution command to the Deathwing Angel bloodline. Your bloodline Deathwing Angel god level potential has evolved to the second stage. Strength change. Physical attack increased by 5, arrive 10 points per point of strength conversion. Constitution change. Health increased by 40, arrive 80 points per point of constitution. Physical defense increased by 4, arrive 8 points. Agility change. Agility effect increased by 60%, arrive 80% speed. Attack speed. Casting speed increase. Spirit change. Elemental attack power increased by 3, arrive 6 points per point of spirit conversion. Elemental resistance increased by 4, arrive at points. The enhancement of the 4-dimensional attributes is definitely an explosive improvement for ordinary players. After all, for ordinary players, the combat attributes converted from the 4-dimensional attributes are basically constant, and the general bloodline cannot be advanced, which makes it difficult for players to improve the 4-dimensional attribute effect. Only when a new bloodline is obtained can it be improved. But for Qinfeng, the effect change of the 4-dimensional attribute can only be said to be average. There is an improvement, but not much. After all, Qinfeng has already reached a very high level in this regard with the Soul Devourer bloodline. It is no exaggeration to say, even if others have 5 bloodline, they are not as good as Qinfeng's Soul Devourer bloodline. This is the best use of the infinite evolution talent, so Qinfeng is most concerned about the skill changes after the evolution of this bloodline. First of all, this bloodline originally had 3 bloodline skills, which were all enhanced after evolution. First, Death Wings. From 6 wings to 8 wings, the flight speed increased from 120% to 140%. Second, the Eye of Destiny. After the 7 eyes are opened, the anti-stealth level and hit correction are increased from the original 700% to 1100%, and opening the eyes no longer consumes health points. Third, Shadow Follow. This skill has not changed much, but for every 1% of the target's movement speed, the damage to the target is increased from 1% to 2%. But the upper limit of the damage increase is still 1000%. It's okay. This skill is said to increase the damage tenfold, but unless the target does not move, or the target is extremely large, it will not be able to take the full tenfold damage. Now, as long as I am 5 times faster than the opponent, I can take the full tenfold damage. The effect is okay. Of course, the most important thing is that after the evolution of this bloodline, a new skill has been awakened. Newly added bloodline skill 4 Death Praise. Every time you kill a target, you can collect 1 layer of Death Praise. Each layer of Death Praise increases your physical attributes by 100%, with a maximum of 3 layers. When you die, you can consume 1 layer of Death Praise to revive effective in reality. Death Praise. This skill can be said to be perverted to the level of heaven. You can stack up to 3 layers of Death Praise. Each layer adds 100% physical strength. Isn't it 300% physical strength in total? And it also comes with 3 resurrections. If the mythical equipment of Ascension Machine is extracted to reality, it can help resurrect, but it can only be effective once forever. But this Death Praise is effective in reality, and there is no limit to the number of times it is effective. Of course, Qinfeng knows. This skill does not carry order, nor does it have any divine aspects. So if the enemy has some kind of rules or order that forbids resurrection, then this skill can be suppressed. But even so, it is already terrifying enough. After all, how could the order or rules of no resurrection be so easy to obtain? It's worthy of being a bloodline with god-level potential. Qinfeng sighed. This bloodline of the Deathwing Angel with god-level potential, except for him, is almost impossible to possess even in the Land of Order. At least in the last 100 years, it is certain that only Qinfeng has obtained it. After Qinfeng evolved the bloodline, he killed 3 monsters at will. Then he saw that his status bar really had 3 layers of Death Praise, and this status was still undispellable and unplunderable. Very hard. This total increase in physical fitness is 300%, which directly brought my physical fitness to 11. 45 points. The maximum health value has reached 179 million. Especially physical defense, which was originally only 98. 93% physical defense. Now it has directly soared to 99, 72%. And finally, the resistance to physical damage has increased 4-fold. This wave directly made up for Qinfeng's previous shortcoming. Originally, among Qinfeng's 4-dimensional attributes, agility, strength, and spirit all reached more than 10,000 points because of the 3-phase balance. Only physical fitness was less than 3,000 points. But now, even physical fitness has been made up, and there are 3 more chances to revive. Even if it is in a large-scale melee, Qinfeng will never die, because he can kill unlimited people and replenish the number of resurrections unlimitedly. It's a pity that in the challenge process like the Skeleton God, there is no way to replenish the number of resurrection. Otherwise, this skill would be invincible. Qinfeng smiled. Anyway, this skill is already perverted enough. What else do you want? At this time, Manfeng received another message from the Dark Wolf Emperor, saying that the 2 ancient forests would be burned up in half a day at most. Anfeng replied, "Keep working hard," and then opened his skill panel. In the past few days, although I haven't encountered many high-level bosses, the Greedy Hand is too powerful now, even if it has always been a corpse-touching monster. It has provided Qinfeng with more than 40,000 evolution points. Let's evolve the divine skill Bone Eviscerating Blade first. Qinfeng was quite curious about the evolutionary effect of this divine skill, so he tested it on the spot. Eviscerating Blade, as a divine stunt, requires 6 times the evolution points to use infinite evolution. The first evolution is 26,547 points. Qinfeng used up all of the evolution points and then looked at the skill panel. Eviscerating Blade Ancient Arrive Immortal. Divine Stunt. Consume 7 points of divinity. Charge for 3 seconds. Hold the knife and rush forward up to 120 meters, attacking all enemies on the path. For the attacked enemies, on arrive 2 of the highest value damage reduction attributes will be invalidated for 10 minutes. This skill cools down for 60 seconds, and the effect cannot be stacked. New effect of Immortal. Invincible when charging will not be damaged and immune to higher level affixes. Qinfeng was a little confused. Can it be like this? Wait, this skill charges for 3 seconds, which means it is invincible for 3 seconds. The initial cooldown is 60 seconds. If I stack up the Overload Thunder now, the cooling speed will increase by 2309%. The final cooldown time is 249 seconds. The invincibility time is greater than the cooldown time. Isn't this seamless connection? Always invincible. It's a pity that every time I use it, I have to consume 7 points of divinity. Although holding the dagger for 3 seconds to charge is a bit stupid. But if this process is invincible, then who dares to say it's stupid? The most important thing is, this invincibility effect comes from a divine stunt. That is to say, this invincibility effect is the same as the divine weapon, and even the order effect cannot break this invincibility. This immortal level divine stunt is a bit fierce. It's a pity that the next evolution will require 200,000 basic evolution points, and it has to be multiplied by 64 times. Qinfeng took a look. To further evolve the immortal level Eviscerating Blade, the required evolution points reached 529, 150, which was obviously not something Qinfeng should consider at this stage. Moreover, Qinfeng found that as long as he was still on Blue Star, he would probably have no chance to use this divine skill. There was no place to use it at all. It may only be used in the challenge of the Ancient God's Tomb, or when dealing with the World Spine. Qinfeng didn't think too much. However, when it comes to the invincibility of this divine skill, Qinfeng's current cooling speed attribute is also crucial. In fact, Qinfeng does not have many equipment and skills, with the cooling speed entry, a Judgment Blade, a Legendary Ring Elemental Burst Power, and an Overload Thunder, which is from the blessing of the Thunder Fairy skill. Elemental Burst Power only has a 249% cooling rate. Overload Thunder, when fully stacked, only has a 1000% cooling rate. The most important thing is that the current Judgment Blade attributes have already increased. The initial cooling rate is 88%, as the divinity limit is increased. The basic attributes are also increased, so the current cooling rate, hit correction, and other attributes have reached 1060%. This is only the Judgment Blade with a divinity limit of 531. If Judgment Blade continues to improve, how abnormal will it be in the end? There are still 15,000 evolution points left. Spend 2,000 points first and evolve Thousand Blade Break. Qinfeng felt that the single damage of this skill was not high enough now, and it was necessary to evolve it again. Anyway, with 2,000 evolution points, you can quickly fill it up by just brushing monsters. Thousand Blade Break Mythic Arrive Ancient. Assassin skill. Continuously slash the fan-shaped area within a range of 1 meter in front of you, causing agility 50 damage, and each damage adds 3/4/100 arrive 4/3/20 physical attack power. Cooldown 8 seconds. Required level 35/4. Thousand Blades. The more times you damage, the lower the damage. Single damage is 6 arrive 9 number of damage. Mythic effect. If all slashes hit the target's weak points, your weak point attack multiplier +2. 6 arrive 3. Lasts 8 arrive 12 seconds. Ancient new effect. If all slashes hit the target's weak points, the target's physical defense and elemental resistance are reduced by 100%, lasting 12 seconds. Isn't this effect the same as the ancient effect of the Gift of Liberation? Qinfeng looked at it and felt a little uncomfortable. This ancient new effect is a bit useless. Fortunately, after this skill evolved, the single damage and total damage increased by more than 50%, and the weak point attack multiplier provided was also higher, which significantly improved Qinfeng's output. There are 13,000 evolution points left, so keep them for now. Qinfeng closed the skill interface. Continue to find a place to spawn monsters? More than 4 hours later, the Dark Wolf Emperor sent a message saying the 2 ancient forests over there had been burned down, and they came to ask Qinfeng if he had any other requests. Burned down? Qinfeng nodded secretly. That's about it. So he ordered Grey Chicken and Osirio to burn down the last few giant trees in the ancient forest where they were. Just half a minute later, within the range of the 3 ancient forests, the ground instantly trembled violently. On the burnt scorched earth, groups of black-skinned players who had just finished work and thought they could go home were staggering. Suddenly, many of the ground where they were located cracked, and giant gray vines drilled out from the cracked ground. Each of these vines had a diameter of several meters after drilling out of the ground. They slapped the surrounding scorched earth. Some vines even released gray poison needles, killing hundreds of local players almost instantly. Fuck. It's the legendary boss, Duskwatcher Fading Vines. Run! Those killed by these vines will fall into a state of a mumbling. It's too late to run. Kill me. That's right, as long as you die before being killed by the vines. You won't fall into a state of mumbling. For a moment, tens of thousands of black-skinned players who had just finished work all panicked. Those who reacted quickly started to kill each other. Those who reacted slowly and stupidly started to run away. But with their speed, how could they escape? Although the speed of these players has surpassed the world champions before the advent of the godforsaken game by at least 2 or 3 times, they can't escape at all when facing the legendary boss that is several versions ahead of them. Oh my. The Dark Wolf Emperor personally led people to supervise here. He also encountered this situation, and his face turned pale with fear. Legendary boss, how could he handle this? But he forced himself to calm down, and directly commanded his magic gold wolf to pounce on the team members behind him. Don't resist. I'll help you return to the city. The Dark Wolf Emperor reacted quickly and helped his team members return to the city quickly, seeing his subordinates die and explode their lifespans one by one. The Dark Wolf Emperor had no time to absorb the lifespan light balls. In fact, a large area around him was already full of lifespan light balls, after being killed by the Dark Wolf Emperor. The bespectacled young man from the Wolfpack Guild immediately shouted in the guild channel, "Brother, you killed us back. What about you? Don't worry. I have a teleportation stone fuck." When the Dark Wolf Emperor took out the teleportation stone, he was suddenly dumbfounded. This teleportation stone cannot be used in combat. He actually knew this. But why am I in combat mode now? The Dark Wolf Emperor was confused, looking at his full health, no upper gauge on his body, and not being touched by anything. Just then, the ground beneath his feet suddenly cracked, and a giant gray vine instantly broke through the scorched earth. Duskwatcher, Faded Vine, Love 30. Grade. Legendary. Subvine. HP 120 million. A gray vine with a diameter of more than 4 meters emerged from the ground and headed straight for the Dark Wolf Emperor. Seeing this, the Dark Wolf Emperor rolled over with lightning speed and barely reacted to avoid the first attack of the vine. But then, the giant vine stretched out from the cracked, scorched earth next to him and rushed hundreds of meters into the sky. Then, the surface of the vine cracked, and gray poisonous needles were scattered and released around. Oh my god. Faced with this indiscriminate attack, the Dark Wolf Emperor widened his eyes. Seeing the dense poisonous needles, he could not avoid them all anyway. And he knew that if he was attacked by a legendary boss, he would most likely die. Stop it. Awu! The 40 or 50 magic gold wolves summoned by the Dark Wolf Emperor flew towards him and blocked him. Those poison needles pierced into the bodies of the magic gold wolves one by one. In just a moment, more than 20 of his magic gold wolves died. You have to know that his magic gold wolves are more fragile than his body, each with more than 300 dozen HP. But they were instantly stabbed to death by this wave of poison needles. Even the remaining magic gold wolves that were not dead had very unhealthy HP, and there were many with half HP or residual HP. These poison needles are too dense, and the damage of each poison needle is tens of thousands. The Dark Wolf Emperor got up from the ground in a somewhat embarrassed manner, a little shocked. You have to know that the strongest boss he killed before was only at the Emerald level, and the damage of the single ultimate move of the Emerald level boss was only 50,000 or 60,000. And the damage of any poison needle of this legendary boss exceeds this level, and tens of thousands of poison needles are scattered around in an instant. Is this boss defeated by a human? What's more, when the Dark Wolf Emperor saw the name on the vine, it was just a sub-vine. 120 million health points. Too outrageous. Too outrageous? I'll beat you. The Dark Wolf Emperor got up from the ground and immediately transformed into a werewolf. His arms and legs swelled with muscles. His head turned into a wolf's head, and his eyes turned into wolf's eyes in the werewolf state. The four-dimensional attributes of the Dark Wolf Emperor were greatly enhanced, even breaking through 1,000 points. This level can be said to have surpassed most of the strongmen in Daxia Magic City. However, in this state, some of the Dark Wolf Emperor's human state skills will not be available. He turned into a werewolf now, not to fight the boss, but to speed up and run away. However, just when he turned around and ran 500 meters in an instant, his face changed drastically, because the magic gold wolves that stayed in place to observe all found that the bark of the faded vine and subvine that had just broken through the scorched earth had cracked, and hundreds of pale gray human eyes appeared. The gazes of those eyes were all focused on the Dark Wolf Emperor who turned into a werewolf and escaped. Then, countless pale gray poison needles were released again, and this time, thousands of poison needles all gathered into one place, completely aiming at the Dark Wolf Emperor. Obviously, under its poison needle attack, there were players nearby who did not die, which made the Faded Vine a little curious. This wave was an unreserved attack, completely targeting the Dark Wolf Emperor alone. Oh my god, I'm going to die. The Dark Wolf Emperor's eyes were red. Just now, he had learned that if he died at the hands of this boss, he would fall into a 100% mumbling state. Although he has a good physique in reality and will not die if he falls into a mumbling state for 2 days, he will lose his mind during this period. Who knows how many of his brothers will die at his hands? But at this moment, bang, he felt that he was suddenly kicked by someone, and the whole person was kicked away. Before he could react, he suddenly saw the Faded Vine subvine that was soaring into the sky not far away. The 120 million HP bar was emptied in an instant, and the whole giant vine was cut in half. The Dark Wolf Emperor widened his eyes on the spot and was completely stunned. 120 million HP gone. No. Is this scientific? He had heard about the power of Shadow before, but after all, he was too far away from Daxia, and many news could not be transmitted here at all. Shadow had killed a legendary boss, but no one had ever told him that Shadow could kill a legendary boss in 1 second. Although this was just one of the vines of a legendary boss, it still had 120 million health points, gone in an instant. The Dark Wolf Emperor didn't even see the blood loss of the vine's health bar. The health bar disappeared directly. As expected of Brother Shadow, the Dark Wolf Emperor cried. Now of course, he knew who kicked him. With his speed, it was impossible to avoid the thousands of poison needles, but he was kicked. Hey! The speed at which he was kicked was far faster than the speed of those poison needles. Directly avoid all the poison needle attacks, he killed the legendary boss's vine in seconds. He had time to kick me before seconds. No, save me. How strong is his combat power? And what shocked the Dark Wolf Emperor even more was yet to come. Because this vine is just the beginning. When the first vine was killed in seconds by Chun Feng, the next vine appeared on the surrounding scorched earth. This time the vine appeared more than 10 kilometers away. Breaking out from the cracks in the scorched earth, it rushed straight into the sky, before the main body of the Dusk Watcher, Faded Vine, appears. There is a whack-a-mole stage. Subvines appear at random locations within a 20-kilometer radius. Every time a subvine appears, it will last for 1 minute. If you can destroy the subvine within 1 minute, then add 1 to the count. Otherwise, the next subvine will appear with full health, and the damage will be stacked. A total of 12 subvines must be destroyed before the main body of the Dusk Watcher will appear. This is the most important mechanism of this legendary boss. Even during the battle with the main body of the boss will enter this whack-a-mole mechanism stage again every time it loses 20% of its health, or every 3 minutes. In short, this boss has rigid requirements for the damage output and movement speed of the strategy team. If the transition is not fast enough and the output is not high enough, it is impossible to kill this boss, and you may not even see the main body of the boss. Of course, this 120 million health points seems like a lot. However, if assigned to a team of 60 people, assuming there are 40 DPS. Each person only needs to deal 3 million damage. Even if half of the time is spent on the road, it only needs 100,000 DPS. The top DPS players in Anyu and Gu Yishui's team now have a DPS of 1 million, especially Xiao He, who has doubled his DPS after getting Qinfeng's Source of Mana Sublimation Scroll. Of course, if they are asked to fight the legendary Ba, the boss has higher defense and damage reduction, and their DPS can't even play 1/10 of it. But as long as they develop more, there is still hope to deal with this whack-a-mole stage. Of course, the real difficulty of this boss lies in the body. For the top players such as Anyu and Guiling, except Qinfeng at this stage, there is still a big gap to face the legendary boss directly. So, at this moment, on the scorched earth of the ancient jungle outside the ruins of Harare, gray vines broke out of the ground and rushed into the sky. Then, Qinfeng flew over and killed them with a skill in a few seconds. The vines appeared, the vines were killed in a second. The Dark Wolf Emperor, who was kicked away, was completely numb when he saw the scene around him. Is this reasonable? Is this scientific? Is this still a human being? Just 1 minute later, Qinfeng cut off 12 vines in a row. The Dark Wolf Emperor was numb and suddenly felt the scorched ground under his butt shaking. Hey, come again. The Dark Wolf Emperor kept his werewolf form and turned around to run. But this time, it was the real body of the Duskwatcher Fading Vine that appeared, and it happened to appear where he was. It was too late to run. Bang! The death wings behind Qinfeng flapped and flew over at several times the speed of sound, raised a foot, and kicked the Dark Wolf Emperor away again. Thank you, Lord Shadow, for saving my life. The Dark Wolf Emperor burst into tears, although he didn't see Qinfeng's movements clearly. He knew that only Shadow could save him. His whole werewolf body flew out, like a gray wolf. Before he landed, he saw that a huge hole had cracked in the ground where he was originally, and hundreds of gray vines were intertwined and twisted together, stretching out from the scorched ground. Duskwatcher Faded Vine Love 30. Grade Legendary. Mother Vine. HP 750 million. Oh my god. 750 million HP. The Dark Wolf Emperor was shocked when he saw this scene in midair. There were also strong whispers, corruption, and withering. 3 kinds of upper-level affix energy spreading from the crack pit in the ground, giving people a doomsday scene. But the next moment, he didn't even see Qinfeng's shadow. And suddenly, the health bar above the legendary boss disappeared again. Player Shadow Daxia killed the legendary boss, Duskwatcher Faded Vine, and gained 200 reputation points. The Dark Wolf Emperor had a dull and unbelievable look on his face. This killed in 1 second. No, I was kicked and haven't even landed yet. And you killed the boss in 1 second. Bang! The Dark Wolf Emperor fell to the ground with his butt. Hiss, my butt. The Dark Wolf Emperor burst into tears. Gap. What is the gap? Shadow. Worthy of being called Shadow? It seems that my attitude is still not low enough. The Dark Wolf Emperor immediately began to reflect. As for Qinfeng, he happily entered the harvest stage. At this point, it can be said that any legendary boss is no longer a threat to Qinfeng. In fact, others did not see it. Just now, he killed the legendary Faded Vine in 1 second, and he didn't even use his full strength. There was no bleeding state or end mark, and a lot of damage was lost, but even so, 2 simple instant kills. The second instant kill directly exploded 37 billion damage, instantly killing on the spot. This damage can finally deal with the mythical boss. It's a pity that we are unlikely to spawn a mythical boss on Blue Star for the time being. We have to kill the world spine first and go to the Blue Civilization. Qinfeng thought, while releasing the Hand of Greed towards the supergiant corpse of the Duskwatcher, Faded Vine. By the way, he also asked Osiris to summon his 12 brothers and let those brothers go around to absorb all the scattered life light balls. Although they are brothers. But these Bone Sword Pterosaur brothers are all epic. Any skill can kill any player in the Harare ruins in seconds. Even the Dark Wolf Emperor can't withstand the attack of these Bone Sword Pterosaur brothers. Why didn't it make a ding sound? After releasing the Hand of Greed, Qinfeng sighed. When the Dark Wolf Emperor said that, it was almost done. He went back to the Evil Spirit Academy, found the old ghost Jayan, and cast the Hand of Greed. Unfortunately, it didn't work when he touched this Ba. Qinfeng felt that he had suffered a heavy loss. Lifespan 32,000 years. Evolution points 24,000. Not bad. 27 pieces of mythical loot. 114 pieces of legendary loot. Some materials. And even 4 sublimation scrolls. Among these loot, there are more than 10 assassin skill books and equipment. But they are useless to Qinfeng. There is a mythical assassin armor. But Qinfeng has the Ascension Machine. And the attributes are not bad. So there is no need to replace it. Looks like I have to take it back and give it to Sister Yuan. Also, I have accumulated a lot of mythical items, so I can combine them into 8 and try my luck. Qinfeng has always been thinking about the 8-in-1 function of the Greedy Hand. Although there is no equivalent exchange agreement to cooperate, after combining into a higher level prop, it is not necessarily guaranteed to be used by assassins, but it is also you can try your luck. After all, once the mythical synthesis is successful, it will be ancient equipment. As long as it is used by assassins, Qinfeng can basically upgrade it. The skill book let the Soul Eater swallow it. Qinfeng saw that among the spoils of the Fated Vine, there was a skill called Rivers of Blood, a legendary skill that can spread Qinfeng's bleeding state to other enemies around. This skill is useless. Just swallow it. Strength change. Each point of strength is converted into 48 arrive 50 points of physical attack power. Yeah, Qinfeng took a look. My current physical attack power is 696. Dylan. If it doubles after the shadow jump, it will be nearly 4 million. Then the focus of this harvest is the 4 sublimation scrolls. Weapon sublimation scroll legendary. Sniper power. Add the order sniper power to the weapon. The damage you cause from 100 meters away is doubled. This is another order that is basically useless to Qinfeng, because Qinfeng can hardly cause damage from 100 meters away, although there are puppets, pets, etc. The judgment of this type of attack distance is based on them. Even if damage is caused at a very long distance, it is determined by their position, not Qinfeng's position. Therefore, Qinfeng definitely does not consider using the sniper power order for himself. Like Source of Mana, it can be rented to the official later. The second sublimation scroll is a more common sublimation scroll. Ring sublimation scroll legendary. Hit the target every time. Add the order hit the target every time to the ring. Your attack will not be dodged. This order is definitely the nemesis of the dodge flow. Of course, it is only the nemesis of the general dodge flow. After all, Qinfeng is armed with divinity here. Even if the opponent has such an order ability, Qinfeng can directly consume divinity to offset it. This sublimation scroll is also useful to Qinfeng, so he used it directly on the ring of skeleton power. Anyway, this ring can finally add 9 orders, the more the better. The third sublimation scroll, Shoe Sublimation, scroll legendary, slippery. Add the order slippery to shoes. When you move, your inviolable affix recovery speed increases by 10 times. Bun. This order can be said to be really slippery. The inviolable affix is meant to resist any control state, and in Qinfeng's case, it can even resist various negative states. Originally, the inviolable affix recovers 1% per second, but with this order, as long as Qinfeng is in a moving state, 10% of the inviolability will be recovered per second. Finally, the most important highlight, because like the Eye of Surgery, this is another mythical sublimation scroll. Leggings upgrade scroll mythic. Origin of Nightmares. Add the order Origin of Nightmares to the leggings. Immune to all nightmare affixes. And completely rebound the nightmare affixes you suffer. Immune to nightmare affixes, and rebound the nightmare affixes you suffer 100%. If it is a legendary order, perhaps the effect is just immunity to nightmare affixes. But the mythical order is not only immune, but also 100% rebound, because it is a mythical order. Even if the opponent has divine weapons and can consume divinity to offset it, it will also need to consume more divinity. In this way, in addition to being immune to instant death, I am also immune to nightmares. Great Chicken can also make me immune to chaos, 7 higher level affixes. I am already immune to 3, and it is also an instant death, and 2 control type higher level affixes. It can be said that in terms of higher level affixes, Qinfeng is now terribly strong. He attached this mythical sublimation scroll to the death smokescreen. By the way, after nearly 5 days of brushing, only 1 layer of the 9-layer seal of the skeleton power has been unlocked. Qinfeng looked at the ring in his hand. It was the mythical divine weapon from the skeleton god, the skeleton power. When one of the 9 layers of seals was unlocked, the attributes were slightly improved. Skeleton power, divine armor, seal 89. Grade, mythical soul binding. Universal ring, all attributes plus 500 arrive 600. No required level. Special. Death resistance, by 200 arrived 40. Divinity, 99 arrive 109 1. Divinity added every 20 arrive 19 years of life. Rule effect. Kneeling to the Emperor. Activation consumes 99 arrive 109 divinity points. Force all organisms with skeleton within 99 arrive 109 meters to kneel down for 99 arrive 9 seconds. Additional special effects from the 3-phase ring. Legendary. 3-phase balance. 1. Additional order 1. Life forbidden healing. Additional order 2, 100% hit rate, 100% hit rate. Unlocking a layer of seal. All attributes increased by 100 points. Death resistance increased by 40 points. And divinity and rule effects were also improved accordingly. Qinfeng thought about it. Took out the strengthening stone again and strengthened this equipment. Because the basic attribute of skeleton power is only 1 all attributes, so no matter how to strengthen it, you can only strengthen this attribute as long as the value is high enough. In the end, Quinvis retained 28% of the strengthening effect. From 600 all attributes, it increased to 768 points. At this point, Qinfeng's agility, strength, and spirit attributes finally broke through the 14,000 mark. Comfortable. Qinfeng collected all the spoils. And next, he had to deal with the Harara ruins. The death wings behind him spread out and took him to the sky. It can be clearly seen that although the legendary boss, Fated Vine, appeared not long ago, many local players have died. And those who died in the hands of the Fated Vine will fall into a 100% state of mumbling. At this moment, hundreds of people have died in the Harara ruins, fallen into a mumbling state, and lost their minds, with the physical level of most players now. They will not be starved to death or thirsty within 2 days of losing their minds, but they will definitely cause a lot of trouble. Qin Feng can't care about this at all, because many black-skinned players in Africa were hostile in the previous life. As the wasteland spread more and more, most of the areas in Faygo became uninhabitable, causing many local players to migrate to other places. Among them, a large number of people chose Daxia and attacked Daxia, causing quite serious losses to Daxia. So Qin Feng would naturally have no mercy on the enemy. Swish! Qin Feng folded his wings behind him and instantly landed in front of the Dark Wolf Emperor, who was kicked hundreds of meters away. Thank you, Lord Shadow, for saving my life. I, Yang Xiaobao, have no way to repay you. If you have any orders in the future, just tell me. I will do my best and die. The Dark Wolf Emperor was just rubbing his butt, suddenly seeing Qin Feng appear in front of him. He made a quick decision and knelt down to Qin Feng. This time he really saw it clearly. This Shadow's combat power is really terrifying. It is completely different from their Harare side. Are you really going to die for me? Qin Feng asked with a smile. The Dark Wolf Emperor looked extremely serious. That's inevitable. Qin Feng. Okay, then you should die for me first. Dark Wolf Emperor. This middle-aged man who still looked like a werewolf. His face just changed, and before he could react, his eyes went dark in an instant. A flash of knife light passed in front of him. Although he had more than 10 layers of shields to avoid damage, how could this stop Qin Feng? Whether it was the shield-breaking ability of the shield disintegration, or the instant death affix that far exceeded his tolerance limit, it could instantly put him into a state of death, and after his death, he had not been resurrected in the hiding place of the Wolfpack Guild. Obviously, Han Feng took him to the place of judgment. This move was to check this guy's memory. Han Feng wanted to know, what did this man do in the ruins of Harare? Can he still be regarded as a fellow of Daxia? A moment later, Qin Feng released the Dark Wolf Emperor with a strange look on his face. Although he spent some divinity, it was only more than 10 points of divinity, and the consumption could be ignored in a short period of time. Qin Feng had read all the memories of the Dark Wolf Emperor. Qin Feng's evaluation of this man's memory was, it can't be said that he is unpatriotic, but it can only be said that this guy is too patriotic. Too patriotic. The Wolfpack Guild has bought more than 300 beauties from merchants from all over the world so far. These women are from all over the world, but there is no Daxia. The most critical point is, more than half of these women are from the Sakura country, and Yang Xiaobao spent a lot of money to get them. It's the Sakura people who are being targeted. This is a famous saying that Yang Xiaobao often said to his subordinates. After these women were sent here, they were not abused, but were forbidden to log into the god-forsaken game. The Dark Wolf Emperor is the king. He has many generals and ministers under him, and each of them can get several women. It can be said that this guy is really living a life like a local emperor here. But after I came here, this guy seems to have a lot of ideas. He received more than 100,000 years of protection fees from more than a dozen large local guilds. Some tricks. Han Feng has made a decision. As for the Dark Wolf Emperor, he can be kept. This guy has the strength, courage, and means to control the situation of the Harare ruins. When the further desolation spreads, he may be useful. And when Qin Feng released the Dark Wolf Emperor, the middle-aged man who looked like a werewolf was a little confused. He only heard a system prompt that he was killed by Shadow. Then his eyes went black, as if he had slept. And then, when he opened his eyes, he was back in front of Shadow. The Dark Wolf Emperor was stunned for a moment, then glanced at the system prompt record of the guild channel. Sure enough, he saw the record of being killed by Shadow. Did you really kill me? But why am I not resurrected and still here? The Dark Wolf Emperor looked around, then lowered his head and checked his attribute panel. Everything is normal. What he didn't know was that in that short period of time just now, he had been killed once by Qin Feng and sent to the Land of Judgment. Then, while he was unconscious, he launched a trial on him, learned his memory, and then sent him back to the godforsaken game, and consumed his divinity to return his player identity. It is worth mentioning that if you are sent to the Land of Judgment for too long, even if you send it out again, you can't return your player identity. After all, Qin Feng's return of the player identity is a copy and paste. If the time is too long, the copied things will disappear. In a sense, this is also a kind of resurrection. Especially if I killed the target in reality and put it back, it would be a resurrection. In that case, my resurrection ability is much stronger than Bai Ya's. It only consumes 20 to 30 points of divinity, and it will take less than 300 years to live. She told me that it would cost hundreds of thousands. Qin Feng didn't believe Bai Ya's statement anymore. Even if the judgment authority is higher, the difference shouldn't be so big, right? Of course, Qin Feng's resurrection ability is limited. He can only resurrect those who were killed by him and sent to the judgment place. If they were killed by others, Qin Feng's judgment blade could not resurrect them. After the Dark Wolf Emperor was released, he had no memory of entering the judgment place. He just closed his eyes, and then opened them again, and found that he seemed to have not changed at all. If it was in reality, he would not notice any abnormality at all, just like the 4 young men of the Skydome Guild who were resurrected by Bai Ya before. Qin Feng did not explain to him, but smiled. I heard that you have collected a lot of protection fees these days. The Dark Wolf Emperor was serious when he heard it. Brother Shadow, this protection fee is all for you. A total of 125. 600 years. I don't plan to stay at all. After all, in the future, our Harare Ruins area can only rely on your protection. If it weren't for the adults, this legendary vine would be enough to kill everyone in Harare. Thank you, Brother Shadow, for protecting our Harare ruins. The middle-aged man was sweating. Originally, he really planned to give some of these protection fees to Qin Feng and keep some for himself. Even if Qin Feng didn't ask, he might have kept them all for himself. But, thinking back to the time when he was killed by Qin Feng just now, he didn't feel anything at all, and didn't even revive in his hiding place. This situation is really weird. This made the Dark Wolf Emperor think that he was being beaten, and he was more determined to obey Qin Feng completely. As for Qin Feng, he didn't think so much. He could only say that the Dark Wolf Emperor was good at flattering. However, it was a bit of a reversal of facts. After all, this legendary boss appeared because of Qin Feng? Okay, then you can continue to collect protection fees in the future. Qin Feng nodded. We agreed in advance that there will be 3 diamond equipment and 1 epic equipment. You can choose one. Either 3 diamond equipment or 1 epic equipment. Generally speaking, the combat power of epic equipment will be much stronger, but the Dark Wolf Emperor didn't even think about it. Thank you, Brother Shadow. Then I just want diamond equipment. Why? Qin Feng asked. The Dark Wolf Emperor smiled and scratched his head. There is only 1 epic equipment. It's not good for me to take it all by myself. There are 3 diamonds. You can distribute them to the brothers. Qin Feng could also see from this guy's memory. This middle-aged man is very loyal. Otherwise, he wouldn't have so many loyal followers. Even in the Wolfpack Guild, there are many local players with dark skin. These local players, as long as they are strong and brave in fighting, are also valued by the Dark Wolf Emperor. Okay, what kind of professional equipment do you want? Qin Feng then discussed with him and took out 3 pieces of diamond equipment and threw them to him. One piece is the diamond level leather armor worn by the Dark Wolf Emperor himself. The other 2 pieces are for his subordinates, a diamond level longbow and a diamond level magic book, which are the weapons of the archer and the mage, respectively, which greatly improve his subordinates. Then, the Dark Wolf Emperor invited Qin Feng back to the Wolfpack's hiding place. That is, the palace. He traded all the 125. 600 years of life stored to Qin Feng. When trading, it can be seen that this guy felt a little painful. But Qin Feng had read his memory and knew that this guy had indeed handed over all the protection fees collected in the past few days, which was very honest. Let's go. You have my friend. If there is anything important in the future, you can notify me, but don't call me for everything. Qin Feng glanced at the other party. If it is a conflict with local players, you handle it yourself. By the way, don't force people to rush, otherwise it will do more harm than good. The Dark Wolf Emperor brought his men, such as the young man with glasses, and stood in front of Qin Feng very respectfully. Listening to Qin Feng's words, the Dark Wolf Emperor was thoughtful. Qin Feng returned to the Evil Spirit Academy. Opening the attribute interface, looking at the total 433,000 years of tradable life, Qin Feng breathed a sigh of relief. Most of these lifespans came from the protection fees that the Dark Wolf Emperor helped to collect on his behalf. A small part came from his own monster-killing income, as well as the income from Los Angeles Chicken this week, and the service fees that the NPCs recently collected from people in the Skydome Guild and the official guild, buying the Saint of Thieves talisman, learning and upgrading the Saint of Thieves, giving voice to skills, etc. These incomes are long-term and lasting. Recently, I have gained a lot. With so many lifespans, I can consider collecting all the souls. In addition, it's almost time to close the net in Sakura Country. Qin Feng's Meat Mountain puppet arrived in Sakura Country 4 days ago. Since his puppet boarded the ship, the nightmare of Sakura Country has begun. When the cargo ship arrived at a port in Sakura Country, all the crew members on the ship had become part of the Meat Mountain puppet. And the Meat Mountain puppet was still in an infinitely invisible state. It left the cargo ship as soon as it docked, leaving only an empty cargo ship and some blood on the deck of the cabin, which made the people who were waiting in Sakura Country fall into a state of fear. What happened to this cargo ship? What's more terrifying is that the disappearance of people for no reason soon became more and more frequent in Dongdu City. Until the 4th day, this matter alarmed the top officials of Sakura Country. In just a few days, thousands of people have disappeared strangely in Dongdu. Therefore, the Sakura Country officials gathered an investigation team composed of top strongmen and came to Dongdu to investigate the matter. One of the members of the investigation team is the Soul Collector who has the ability to see through souls, Songsha Xingyue. This is a girl with short red hair wearing a short skirt. The hair is dyed at a glance. She is holding a lollipop in her hand and following the investigation team. Her eyes are calm and indifferent. I don't know where my idiot brother has gone. I haven't seen him for so many days. Is he dead? Matsushita Xingyue, a member of the chief investigation team of the East City Ghost Incident under the official banner of Sakura Country. She dyed her hair short red, wore a Lolita dress, held a lollipop in her hand, and was protected by the official strongmen of Sakura Country. Matsushita. The target this time is the ghost Dez that cannot be seen by the naked eye. Everything is up to you. The head of the investigation team is a middle-aged man who looks at Matsushita Xingyue with love as if he were looking at his own daughter. I know. Matsushita Xingyue frowned and quietly moved away from the middle-aged man because she knew that this middle-aged man, Kameyama Sasuke, had been plotting against her. If her identity was not so important, Kamiyama Sasuke would have attacked her long ago. Of course, the identity of Kamiyama Sasuke is also quite remarkable. He is one of the deputy ministers of the military operations department established by Sakura Country after the advent of the godforsaken game, and is a hidden profession snake summoner. Currently at level 20, he has advanced his profession 3 times, and is fully equipped with Jade level equipment, including 2 diamond equipment. He was born in the Hokkaido game area of Sakura Country, and his frontal combat power is definitely ranked in the top 3 in the Hokkaido game area. According to the gossip learned by Matsushita Shingyue, this Kamiyama Sasuke has adopted dozens of underage girls. Those girls cannot enter the godforsaken game for the time being, and they usually serve Kamiyama Sasuke in reality. This makes Matsushita Shingyue despise this man very much. Unfortunately, as a soul collector, she has no frontal combat power and has not received Kamiyama Sasuke's soul, so she has no way to restrict Kamiyama Sasuke's behavior. Big Snake, come. Kamiyama Sasuke has a tuft of black hair under his nose. After turning around, he raised his hand majestically and summoned the big snake summon he was proud of. The big snake was hundreds of meters long and several meters wide. After the 3rd career advancement, the snake evolved a 2nd head and could be considered a flying mount. For this summoned snake, air is a very viscous medium. It flies in the air as easily as a fish swims in water. A total of dozens of people stepped on the back of the 2-headed snake together. At the same time, compliments were heard everywhere. The minister's snake is getting bigger and bigger. Section Chief, you really said the best snake? Senior Kamiyama, if you continue to advance in your career, won't this snake evolve into Yamato? It already has 2 heads now. How long will it take to evolve to 8 heads? And with the protection of this snake, we have all obtained 66 layers of damage-free shields. Siguoyi, I have never seen so many layers of damage-free shields. It feels so safe to follow Senior Kamiyama, listening to the compliments of the crowd. Kamiyama Sasuke smiled, raised his hand and said, everyone is too polite. This operation still depends on everyone's concerted efforts. I just received news that the ghost seems to have appeared in Adachi District. Let's go over and take a look. Adachi District. The subordinates were not in a hurry at all when they heard it, because among the 23 administrative districts in the eastern capital, Adachi District is one of the most chaotic and unsafe areas, and also one of the poorest areas. Even if the invisible ghost went to Adachi District and killed a lot of people, these powerful people from the Sakura Country would not care. For them, the most important thing is to ensure the safety of the action. After all, no one knows what the invisible ghost is now. So far, people only know that where the ghost appears, players will soon disappear completely, and even their bodies cannot be found. But fortunately, the ghost has some tracks in its recent actions. Wherever the ghost passes, after a while, there will be traces of blood, which look like the traces of a corpse dragging on the ground. Hashido Madai, wait a minute. Kamiyama Sr. Just then, a long-haired young man suddenly changed his face slightly. There is a riot in Adachi District now. The 7 major guilds in Dongdu City have joined forces to go to Adachi District to find trouble with the Daxia Dragonbird Guild. Daxia Dragonbird. Kamiyama Sasuke frowned, and the tuft of black hair under his nose was blown up by him. Isn't that a guild established by Daxia people? It seems that it was established by Daxia officials and invited overseas Chinese from Dongdu. Yes. The long-haired young man bowed his head slightly and said respectfully, as far as I know, Daxia officials have established 9 guilds in Dongdu alone and only accept overseas Chinese players from Daxia. At present, each guild has more than 10,000 people, among which Daxia Dragonbird is the one with the largest number of people and the strongest combat power. Guild. After the desolation spread, they all moved to the mild area of Adachi District. Originally, our Sakura Country was merciful and did not bother with them, allowing them to develop in the East Capital Ruins game area. But just over 3 hours ago, the people of Daxia Lanke actually snatched an emerald level boss from our local guild. So, the 7 local guilds united and surrounded the Daxia Lanke guild in reality, forcing them to hand over the culprit who snatched the boss. Hearing this, Kamiyama Sasuke's face also changed a little. He quickly asked, how many people are there in the 7 guilds over there? The long-haired young man quickly replied, a total of about 40 Josen people have gathered. In order to put pressure on the Daxia Lanke guild, those who went there are all above level 15. Kamiyama Sasuke. Haven't they fought yet? The long-haired young man. Not yet. The defense barrier of the Great Shia Dragonbird is already emerald level. It is not cost effective to attack it by force. We are still in the negotiation stage. Kamiyama Sasuke frowned, thought for a moment, and immediately ordered, evacuate all of us immediately. No one should be left outside the hiding place of the Great Xia Dragonbird. Everyone around was a little surprised. The long-haired young man was even more puzzled. Senior Kamiyama. Why? Kamiyama Sasuke sneered. I just learned that the traces of the ghost are already heading towards the direction of the Great Xia Dragonbird's guild. Do you think our people should withdraw? When everyone heard this, they immediately showed an expression of understanding, and each of them was like an old fox, searched to death. Naruhido, Mr. Minister is a genius. Everyone laughed calmly. Since the ghost is looking for the Great Shia Dragon Sparrow Guild, what are they worried about? Now, let's go over quietly, Kamiyama Sasuke said with a smile. Mr. Tatsuya. Let's go invisible. Miss Matsushita. I will ask you to help me check what the ghost is. A cold-blooded young man named Tatsuya raised his hand and released the blend into darkness skill, making everyone invisible. Matsushita Shingyu was sipping her lollipop and didn't bother to pay attention to Kameyama Sasuke. Just when the 60 players of the chief investigation team rode the two-headed snake together and headed towards the Adachi district where the ghost was. The destination of this ghost was indeed the hiding place of the Great Xia Dragon Sparrow Guild. But it was not to attack the Great Xia Dragon Sparrow Guild. Instead, after Qin Feng received the official news from the Great Xia, he directly asked the Meat Mountain Puppet to rush here to deal with the Sakura Country players who besieged the Great Xia Dragon Sparrow Guild. Even if the people were withdrawn now, how could it be in time? Even if Qin Feng's movement speed is only 50%, the current Meat Mountain Puppet can move at twice the speed of sound. The only pity is that there are too many corpses stacked on this Meat Mountain Puppet, and it is full of blood. Even if Qin Feng is invisible, he can only make his body invisible, but not the bloodstains left in reality, which led to the traces being tracked by the players of Sakura Country. But what impact does this have? Real Blue Star? The capital of Sakura Country. East City. Adachi District. This was originally the most chaotic area in East City, and now it is still. However, Daxia Dragonbird and the other 8 Daxia guilds all have their hideouts located here, and they have helped each other to upgrade the defensive barrier of the hideout to the Emerald level in Adachi District. In addition to the 8 Daxia guilds, there are also many Sakura Country civilian guilds and white guilds. Basically, non-Sakura players in Dongdu are all gathered in Adachi District because the supervision of the Sakura official is the least, and there are fewer conflicts with Sakura players in reality. And at this time, Daxia Lankei's Pyramid Group hideout. This is a hideout composed of more than 20 large and small pyramids. This hideout was only gold level at the beginning, and there was only one largest pyramid, but later, after passing the challenge of the high-level Divine Power Tower, more hideouts were merged, resources were integrated, and it was upgraded to an emerald-level hideout. More than 20 additional pyramids were built. Each pyramid, which is tens of meters high, can accommodate thousands of people and is very spacious. And outside the more than 20 pyramids, under a hemispherical, translucent dome, many Daxia players are confronting the Sakura players outside through the defensive barrier, since the god-abandoned game. Due to the fierce competition for resources in the game, Daxia players in Dongdu have long intensified conflicts with local Sakura players. Today, the conflict between the two sides has intensified to the point where it cannot be reconciled. An emerald-level boss that was originally captured by the Sakura Country Guild was snatched away by the Daxia player of Daxia Dragonbird. Now, more than 40 Yuzen Sakura Country players have gathered outside the defensive barrier and confronted the Daxia Dragonbird Guild. Mafe, good job. We should have robbed them. This group of people looks like a lot of people, but they don't dare to do anything at all. After all, we have a defensive barrier. Yes, if they dare to do it, we can easily kill them with the defensive barrier. In this era, we don't need to leave our hiding place in reality. So what are we afraid of? That's right. The supplies are all in the Divine Book. Can they really dare to attack our defensive barrier? In the crowd, the brothers Ma Yi and Ma Fei, as well as their team, are being surrounded by the crowd. This wave of snatching the emerald-level boss from the opposite side was done by these two brothers and their people. Now the huge crowd of Sakura Country players outside are all here to put pressure on the Great Xia Dragon Bird Guild to hand over Ma Yi, Ma Fei, and their team. But how is it possible? Beside Ma Yi is his long-haired and gentle girlfriend, Sakura, named Inoue Natsuki. Ma Yi, no matter what, I will stand firmly with you. The long-haired and gentle Inoue Natsuki said very firmly, seeing this scene. Ma Fei felt very uncomfortable. His girlfriend, with twin ponytails, died in the incident of the long-tailed snake goddess statue and was buried with another 100,000 people. However, Ma Fei thought, even if his girlfriend was alive now, she would not stand by him so firmly like his sister-in-law, right? At this time, Ma Yi's expression was a little complicated. But, Natsuki, your sister, your parents. Inoue Natsuki's sister and parents are now outside, surrounding the Pyramid Group hideout of the Great Xia Dragonbird Guild. They want to take Inoue Natsuki away. Hearing this, Inoue Natsuki smiled bitterly. Ma Yi-jun, since the advent of the god-forsaken game, if I hadn't followed you, I don't know how many times I would have died. My profession is average, and my talent is average, but you have always been with me. I am very grateful to you. My parents didn't agree with me finding Ma Yi-jun as my boyfriend from the beginning, saying that Daxia men are cunning and irresponsible. But the facts prove that this is not the case at all. My sister's talent is also average, and her boyfriend abandoned her after becoming stronger. After hearing this, Ma Yi didn't say anything, but just held his girlfriend's hand tightly. Only he knew how much grievances Inoue Natsuki had suffered as a Sakura man in the Daxia Dragonbird Guild. Just then, Inoue Natsuki received another voice private chat from her sister, with a little jealousy and a little anger. Sister, you keep hanging out with the Daxia people like this. You are treasoning. Inoue Natsuki sighed and responded, We robbed the Jade Boss of the Yamato Tenjin Guild this time, but that's because Yamato Tenjin Guild has robbed us of the Jade Boss twice and the Platinum Boss 5 times before. I'm in the Daxia Dragon Bird Guild, and President Kong here always says that you shouldn't take the initiative to provoke others outside. But if someone provokes you, you must never show weakness if everyone develops peacefully. Wouldn't it be great? The younger sister quickly replied, Sister, why should we develop peacefully with them? This is the Sakura country, and the resources here can only be enjoyed by our Sakura country. Inoue Natsuki didn't say anything, because she knew that, in fact, the conflict between the two sides could not be mediated by her alone. No matter how much she said, it would have no effect. Forget it. You won't listen to me no matter what I say. In that case, I won't call you sister anymore. Let me tell you one last thing. Inoue Natsuki's sister quickly replied, The ghost that has been ravaging the East City recently is rushing here. It seems that the target is your hideout. If you want to survive, go online now. The private chat ended with this sentence. Inoue Natsuki stood on tiptoe and looked outside. Sure enough, there were many Sakura country players surrounding the hideout, all evacuating at a very fast speed. Ghost is coming. Inoue Natsuki got the news and reacted immediately. She pulled Mai's hand. Mai, my sister said that the East City ghost is rushing towards us. Let's notify everyone and let everyone go online. Mai's face changed immediately when he heard it. He immediately opened the friend list and privately chatted with the president of the Great Shia Dragon Sparrow Guild, a middle-aged man named Kong. This person was originally an official of the Great Shia Embassy. Now he leads the Great Shia Dragon Bird Guild and has established a firm foothold in the Sakura country. What? The ghost of Dongdu is coming. In the crowd, this square-faced, serious-looking middle-aged man's face became extremely solemn. This middle-aged man is called President Kong. This square-faced man, who is nearly 50 years old, suddenly changed his face when he got the news that the ghost is coming. Dongdu Ghost. This is the existence that has frightened countless people in Dongdu recently. No one knows what it is, so far. Thousands of people have disappeared, and not even the bodies are left. In addition, it was recently discovered that there were very thick bloodstains in the places where the Dongdu Ghost passed, which were the bloodstains of countless people merged together. Obviously, the means of the Dongdu Ghost are absolutely cruel. And I heard that a guild's platinum level hideout was breached by the Dongdu Ghost, and the casualties were extremely heavy. The ghost is really coming. President Kong immediately activated his ultimate move and turned into a 3-meter tall terracotta warrior, holding a special halberd, and looked out from afar outside the hideout. Sure enough, the Sakura country players surrounding him began to disperse. Some even chose to go online on the spot and turn semi-transparent. Are they real or fake? Is there a trick? As the President Kong has much more to consider, and it is impossible to believe this kind of news directly. After all, if he ordered all the players to go online, what if the Sakura country players outside suddenly attacked the hideout? It was originally a situation of confrontation between the two sides. Once one of them retreated, it would immediately fall into a disadvantage. No, we can't let people take risks. President Kong's face sank, and he immediately raised an alarm in the guild channel and issued an order. All guild members in reality, go online now. There is intelligence that the East City Ghost is approaching. Everyone take refuge. Xinglong Group, Xuanwu Group, stay with me and guard the pyramid. Prevent the other party from launching a surprise attack at any time. When this order came out, countless people in the guild were shocked. East City Ghost. Immediately, many people fell into panic and wanted to go online as soon as possible. But some people expressed different opinion. No, President Kong, you only take 2 groups. If the other side suddenly attacks, we can't resist it at all. We should stay too, otherwise you will be in danger. Yes, our White Tiger group is not a coward. Why don't you let us stay? Our Suzaku group is the same. These 4 teams are the 4 strongest teams of Daxia Lonke. Among them, the Suzaku group is full of female players, and they all stood up. However, at this moment, swish, I saw a faint green light spreading out from outside the hiding place, instantly covering thousands of Daxia players in the hiding place. It was a large-scale halo from a player from Sakura country. The ghost of Dongdu is here. You still want to run? Everyone, get into combat mode. Don't even think about escaping. A thin young man from Sakura country, with black eye sockets, rode a cricket-like insect mount, flying in the air, with him as the center. The weak halo spread. Players affected by the aura will receive 12% more poison damage, but this is not the key. After all, the opponent's attack cannot penetrate the defensive barrier. But the appearance of this aura dragged all the Daxia players in the barrier into a combat state. For a while, I couldn't go online. It's the Poison Master, Hanoi-kun. Great. Those Daxia idiots will definitely die. Let them die under the ghost of Dongdu. For a while, the players of Sakura country outside were all boiling. However, just when they finished watching the excitement and some people were ready to go online for refuge, in the Daxia Dragon Bird hideout, the beautiful leader of the Suzaku group raised her hand and crushed a ball of blazing flames. The flames instantly passed through the defensive barrier and spread to the surroundings instantly. Talent. Heating. That beautiful player can increase all the flame damage in the field by 20% by heating the surrounding air. This method also has a large range and can also put people into combat mode. Directly dragged all the players from Sakura country outside into combat mode and could not go online. However, this did not make the players from Sakura Country too nervous. The ghost may arrive in about half a minute. Even if we can't go online, we can escape several kilometers within this half minute. For a while. Except for a few people who had already gone online, the tens of thousands of players from Sakura Country all fled in all directions. At this moment, Mai's long-haired and gentle girlfriend, Inoue Natsuki, received another private voice chat from her parents and sister. Inoue Natsuki, why don't you come out and escape with us? Now if you don't leave, you will die with your Daxia boyfriend. The ghost of Dongdu is here. A platinum level hideout was breached by the ghost in less than 2 minutes. You won't be able to hold on for long. Faced with the advice of her parents and sister, Inoue Natsuki did not waver at all, but stood firmly beside her boyfriend Mai. But it can be seen that her body was trembling a little. Obviously, the approach of the ghost of Dongdu still brought her fear. Everyone, prepare for the battle. Dongdu ghost is approaching. Contact countdown. 10, 9. Just then, a sharp explosion sounded from the guild channel. That was the strongest scout of the guild, with the talent of Eagle Eye. He saw a terrifying and eerie scarlet blood trail several kilometers away, which was rapidly approaching their hiding place along the road and building walls. Although the ghost itself could not be seen, just seeing the blood trail left by the thing was enough to scare countless people. Now, thousands of players of Daxia Dragonbird were unable to go online. They all looked solemn and sweated all over, but they still formed a well-trained defensive formation, and all the warriors with high defense and thick blood were at the forefront. All the archers and mages with long-range attacks were ready to release skills in any direction at any time. At the same time, many players from Sakura Country were heated due to the influence of their talents. They could not go online for a short time, but they all fled several kilometers away. Players who had the conditions were still on various buildings and through windows, looking at the pyramid group hiding place of the Great Xia Dragonbird from afar, and they all showed a cold sneer. Just when these Sakura players thought that the Great Xia Dragonbird was about to be attacked by the Eastern Capital Ghost, suddenly, a scream of a Sakura player sounded outside the pyramid group hiding place. Puff! An invisible meat hook flew out from the invisible flesh puppet, directly killing a Sakura player hiding next to it, and swallowed and fused his body. Qin Feng controlled the Meat Mountain puppet from a distance, and when the Meat Mountain puppet approached the hiding place of the Great Xia Dragonbird, it directly killed the Sakura players who fled to both sides. Why don't so many people go online? Aren't they afraid of death? Or do you want to see the miserable situation of the Great Xia Dragonbird Guild? Qin Feng was speechless. Originally, he thought that by the time the Meat Mountain puppet arrived, the other party's people would have dispersed. Even if they hadn't left, many people should have logged into the game. But he didn't expect. He came over and saw that there were still tens of thousands of people who hadn't entered the game, but were just scattering around. In that case, kill. Meat Mountain puppet. Start to act. So, countless people in the audience were shocked.